Hello, Natives Helping Natives podcast here. I'm Harry MacArthur with Bob Thornton, and we have our special guest today is none other than Scott Burrows. And Scott's going to tell us about his amazing life and what he's gone through and his ups and downs and how you come back from the tough and live through the tough days and see the sun on the other side. And he's made it all happen. And it's very exciting. And I'm glad to call him a friend of mine.
And we make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
You know,
There we go.
we think we have everything all figured out and where we're going and the direction we're going in. And then life happens. And what was your life like growing up, high school? You were a standout athlete.
I used to kickbox. I was in karate and kickboxing. There we go. My last kickboxing fight was on ESPN in 1983 at the West Palm Beach Auditorium, which was a blast. I started football, the first time in a team sport, if you will, as a freshman. Started all 4 years, and I walked on to Florida State University as a walk-on wide receiver under head coach Bobby Bowden, and he did not recruit me. I was a walk-on, so my dad paid the way. But it was an enlightening experience. I was involved in track in my senior year just to stay in shape to prepare for Florida State. And I broke 2 school records, took the 880-yard run to the state finals. And so that was a lot of fun. And I was on the golf team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably were thinking maybe you'd have a pro career.
In which one?
Well, if you were playing football,
All three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
If I'm reflecting now, being honest, I think kickboxing.
Okay.
I think I could have taken kickboxing further. Football was amazing. When I got to Florida State, I realized why I wasn't recruited. The people around you were just amazing athletes. And I welcomed the challenge. I stood up to it, and we went to the Peach Bowl that year. I never played, but I played in the spring game, going to my sophomore year before my car accident. So I was pursuing it. I wasn't giving up on it by any means.
So determination,
Grit, self-belief, proving people wrong. I was always told back in the day that I would never take kickboxing as far as I took kickboxing. I would never take football as far as I took football. But I love proving people wrong. It's like a chip on my shoulder growing up as a kid.
Does some of that go back to your parents? Your dad, you like proving him wrong or your mother or...
I don't know where it came from. It didn't come from those two. My dad was a very conservative guy. I jumped out of airplanes and things of that nature, skydiving. He wouldn't touch it. I snow ski. He wouldn't do that. My mom was very conservative. So I don't know where I got it, but I got it from somewhere, and no one in my family has it. And so I'm the wild and crazy one.
That's funny. That's really, so we have 3 guys on the microphone that all were trying to prove people wrong.
There we go. Something in common.
Yep. Very much so.
So what happened? What changed? You were doing kickboxing. You had a fight on ESPN, which is pretty impressive. And what happened?
So I just finished my freshman year in college, and it was November 3rd, 1984, as a sophomore. And I was involved in a fraternity. I was a Pike, and it was a Pike weekend with guys and girls going to St. George's Island, south of Tallahassee. We get down there on a Friday night around, it was dark, November. And we were asked, me and a buddy of mine were asked to go get some firewood for the bonfire through the night. And so without hesitation, I jumped in the passenger side of his car and off we went. On our return back with firewood, he lost control, hit a mound of sand, sent the car hurling into the air, tumbling end over end. He was fine, and I broke cervical 6 and 7 vertebrae in my neck and was diagnosed a quadriplegic. However, we did not know that at the time. 2 other friends of ours were also out on a scavenger hunt for firewood, and they witnessed the entire accident. They came to our rescue. They got my buddy Ed out of the car, came over to my side. I was sitting in the upright position. I was unconscious. There was blood everywhere, and they made an executive decision to put me out of that car, to take me to the closest hospital 50 miles away. And that's when I realized I learned I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. So that may have prevented the injury. But once I got to the hospital, I underwent spinal traction, screwing 2 bolts to the side of my skull to stabilize my neck. I was wide awake when it happened. It hurt like a son of a gun. But that's where my life changed at 19 years old. I went from this roller coaster ride of an athlete, college, high school sweetheart. I was actually on the Men of FSU calendar, Mr. September, And so I had this really wild ride, and it came to an abrupt end at 19. And when Dr. Stranger, my neurosurgeon, diagnosed me a quad, I was in disbelief. I was in denial. I was like, I didn't believe it in my mind, and I'm going to fight this, all the way through. So that's when it first happened.
And how long was the recovery process?
In the hospital and rehab, I went to Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado, 6 months. And I actually walked out of the hospital 6 months later with a pair of foam crutches and braces on my legs. But again, I was diagnosed a quadriplegic. Let me back up. If someone breaks their neck and they sever their spinal cord in two, like Christopher Reeves, even with today's technology in 2025, you can't bring it back together. You can't, But if you damage it, there's an outside chance your mind might be able to recommunicate with some of your paralyzed muscles. Most quadriplegics, this is what happens to them. They never sever, they damage. But the damage, the nick in your spinal cord, the neck, can put you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. You get some return back. A lot of quads do in their fingers. That's independence. They can pick up a plastic straw or a fork. And that's where it happened with me initially. I would say about a month and a half later, I moved my right toe about 1/8 of an inch. And my doctor was like, no, that's just an involuntary impulse. I said, the hell if it is. He's like, do it again. And I looked at my toe like I've never looked before. And I pushed like I've never pushed. And I did it again. And that 1/8 of an inch on the movement of my toe gave me extreme hope.
What did he say? What did the doctor say?
He just smiled and you proved me wrong. And
prove me wrong.
I'm gonna fight the fight. And but it just really helped me in my mind realize that, okay, it's not severed, it's damaged. I get that. But even though it's damaged, you're gonna be in a chair for the rest of your life. I was refusing that. I mean, I was not accepting that as my limitation. So I just persevered like a son of a gun. So how did I overcome this? At 19, what I did is I drew back on past experiences, what I learned from my karate instructor. What did I learn there? Discipline, perseverance, how to work hard. What I learned from playing football at Florida State. Same common denominator. Work hard, persevere, vision, have a foresight, what you want to accomplish, the grit, the determination. So I just did my absolute best to pull on anything that I had at 19 years old. No internet. It's just, there's really no books about it. So I just went and pulled back on what I learned and try to apply those principles in terms of what I was going after, what I was fighting for. That was to stand again and hopefully walk one day. But I will share this with you. One of my doctors, and I'll preface this, he was my assigned psychologist. So when you go through a traumatic experience, you have a team of doctors on your team. You know what I mean? You have a neurologist, a urologist, and so forth, and a psychiatrist because the fact your life changed. And they're there to help you navigate through it. The problem was with me, I was taking this whole spinal cord injury thing like a champ. My attitude was off the charts positive. My vision was crystal clear. My mindset was unstoppable. But then one day when I started pushing a wheelchair, getting some return back in my arms, one of my doctors, my assigned psychiatrist, pulls me over and says, hey, Scott, I think now you need to understand the seriousness of your spinal cord injury and come to realize the movement you're getting back in your arms is not uncommon for quads, but it is as good as it will ever get. I bought into those words. I don't know why. It sent me into a depression because if the movement back in my arms is all I'm going to get back and I'm fighting to stand again or walk again, if he's saying that's it, and I don't know why I bought into it, based on my experiences being an athlete, but I did. It sent me to a depression. I was in Denver, Colorado, Craig Hospital. My parents were here in Florida, 2,000 miles away. I stopped taking phone calls. 4 days later, I had a deep concern for his son. Somehow my dad got me on the phone and demanded to know what in the hell was going on. And I can see it right now in my mind's eye. I mean, I was in tears telling him because I thought this was my problem. This was my challenge. I put them through enough going through all this. But I didn't want any of my pain and my challenges to rest on their shoulders, but I decided to tell them what happened. And all he said is go back. And my dad told me when I was first paralyzed, he said, Scott, look, let it happen. And what that is that don't resist the change and the challenges sitting in front of you, but more embrace them. So during that phone call, he was like, I want you to let it happen, to embrace the change you're experiencing, put the psychologist's mindset over here, shelve it, right? And go back and recapture the vision, mindset, and grit you had prior to this and re-own it again. And he said, don't be upset with me, but I'm going to have a word with that doctor. And then come the next morning, after a pretty good sleep, when I woke up, my dad was standing at that doorway looking back at me, letting me know everything would be okay. So my dad was very, very instrumental in my recovery, and so was my mom and friends. But that was a pivotal moment to get me out of depression and to continue to fight in the fight. And actually, in my book, my dad wrote the foreword. He died about 9 years ago due to cancer. But let it happen. I now signed the book. It says, let it happen. That's his saying. And I started doing that after he passed away. But he wrote the foreword with let it happen. I preach that in my speeches going forward as a piece to it.
Wow. One of us may be crying.
Yeah, probably could be me.
And you know it's me.
Well, me too.
But you know, it's funny when you shared your story. To whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
And you had that passion for life. And I'm another guy that jumped out of airplanes.
Okay.
I did it with the United States Army. But sports, everything was, you were go. And I really believe probably that attitude was preparing you for the burden of the accident, that you just didn't give up. How many people go through it and they just punch their ticket and they check out?
Absolutely. I think quite a bit do. You know, it's funny, not to bring Trump into the conversation, but I'm going to. I have a video out there that went viral. There's an organization called Goalcast. Okay. It's an inspirational group. And Goalcast came to me probably during Trump's first term, but his 2 years into it. And they said, I'm a keynote speaker now. I travel the world speaking, share my story. Can you share with us one of your 60-minute keynotes? And I did. They go, you're going to get nothing out of this, but we're going to slice it and dice it how we want to, and you'll get free PR. And I said, sure, why not? So they came back and cut this 5-minute video. And again, it wasn't for meeting planners, bringing you into conferences to evaluate you. It was just to get a positive message out there. They really latched on to the never give up theme. And that's kind of really what it is. When I give my speeches, I'm in a wheelchair for the first 30 minutes of a 60-minute keynote. Then I get out of that wheelchair, proving the vision, mindset, and grit. I stand up with a golf club. I'm a golfer. We can talk about that later. But it's a pretty cool transition. I end it downhill snow skiing, Vail, Colorado, standing up with foam crutches. I learned how to snow ski afterwards. But going back to Trump, when he lost, and apparently his social media manager found that Goalcast post about never giving up. And it went right to Trump's site when he lost. And it got millions of views and things of that nature. And you didn't realize, I was looking through the comments, not for a self-pat on my back, just what people took away from it. It was pretty amazing. And even the fact that his whoever ran his social media at that time did that. So that was interesting to get my message out, or to share my story and maybe have an impact in millions of lives, people I would have never, ever seen around the world.
Well, I can say that we're at Harry and the Natives, and we're upstairs in the tiki hut, and it's some rickety, narrow stairs that his dad, God rest his soul, built.
Yes.
And Scott jumped up out of his wheelchair and walked up those stairs, which is nothing short of amazing. And screw that doctor that told you that it was as good as it gets, because you definitely proved him wrong. And
thank you.
And we shared the last podcast, exactly the message that you're living, that human beings out there, we're so hungry for inspiration. We're so hungry to make a difference. And when someone goes through a horrible accident or a trauma, and they come out the other side and they kind of flip the accident off and say, you're not going to stop me. You know, you were the wild man in your family for a reason. And here you are with your book and a couple of three admirers, not to exclude Seth.
And I want to, all these years, I've always wanted to ask you, do you think your kickboxing and, you know, where you almost program where you're going to kick, you know, when you lift that leg and you spin and you kick, or you're going to kick to the waist or the head, you know, you almost go back to that of thinking about walking. And do you think that helped you a little bit? Or do you think that even came into play?
I think visualization came into that big time, because I was good enough to throw a roundhouse kick to your head and stop within a quarter of an inch with full speed without hitting you. I had that kind of control. So it's almost like seeing complete success in your mind's eye first. Now imprint that outcome over and over. Do it so frequently your mind can't tell the difference between what is real and what's not. So it becomes your belief, so to speak. And it's I think I got that from karate early on in my age. My dad teach me golf. Okay, so my dad taught me golf when I was 8 years old. So I was born in Chicago. At the age of 5, he uproots the family to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, to take a job opportunity he could not refuse. Golf course superintendent for Hugh Hefner's Playboy Club. All right. Now he taught me the art of visualization, you know, at a really young age. Not that way, Harry.
Harry, you went right down the dark alley, didn't you? Way to go, Dad.
Geez. Now he taught me through the game of golf. And that's where I think the visualization piece really helped me, and not really knowing it at a young age in terms of what that meant, but see complete success in your mind's eye first. See your stance, how hard you're going to swing, where you want to put the ball 2 feet away, 180 yards away. And I got really good at that. So I think visualization, when I got hurt, I kept visualizing. And I was having dreams where I was like, that movie with Tom Cruise. What was the movie Tom Cruise was in when he became paralyzed? And he had a dream. And in that dream, there were people around him in wheelchairs. And he got up. I was in tears. That happened to me. Someone did their homework on that movie. Because I had the same damn dream when I'm laying there paralyzed and I'm basically rising out of the chair, walking, then I'd wake up. It's a mind tease. That's not fun to go through, but I had that same dream. But I could feel it on the interior, like, I'm going to do this.
And that's what we're here for. We're here to hear your success story. And for people to know that, no offense, but I'm not special and you're not special.
Yeah.
You just did what needed to be done. And the universe, and I don't have to sell you on this because you've already sold me on it, but the universe brings us exactly what we look for.
I agree.
And you saw yourself out of that wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
And you saw it long before you were out of that wheelchair. And everyone that's listening, you can get out of your chair. You know, you have the ability to see the better I am, rewrite that program of who you are. And golly, what an incredible story. And to turn it into your life's passion. And how many people that you don't even know that you've inspired?
No, you don't, because I've been speaking now for 20 years. And if you're a good speaker, and I've heard great speakers, if they influence you, I may have a conversation with Harry going, I heard this guy at the conference. And I'll share that message. The ripple effect is insane. You just don't know. But every now and then you get a text or an email. You know, someone posts something on social media and it's a reminder, or a testimonial from a client comes in that says, this is what they're all talking about after a conference. It's pretty enlightening. It can make you feel good. It's as if this was God's big plan all along.
Now, okay, for 20 years now, you go back. What's the farthest back you've heard somebody say, you know what, I heard you 10 years ago and you've still made the difference in my life? Or have you heard that? Or
we had one yesterday. We had an inquiry yesterday come in from Mitsubishi something. I did a speech for them in 2017. And they reached out to my agent yesterday about a speech in June, possibly bringing me back in. So obviously you left a mark on that piece of it. I will also have people just out of the blue, someone heard my story, read my book, saw a clip on the internet. It was shared to them and had a certain impact. And you'd say, hey, I'm reaching out because I wanted to let you know that you had an influence, just so you know. You may never get back to me. I don't know if you will, but I want to let you know that you had an impact. But I don't know how far back, Harry. It just 10 years, 15 years.
It's amazing. So that's amazing to make that kind of difference. That you're in somebody's mind, 4,000 days later, or 5,000 days later, or whatever you want to be. I mean, that's pretty amazing that you hear somebody for an hour and they're still with you.
So let me tell you this story and piggyback on that one. Jane Atkinson is she's out of Canada, and she helped me come up with my vision, mindset, grit that I talk about. And about 20 years ago, she's like a coach. That's when I began my speaking career. So vision, mindset, grit came to be with her help, because she's like, it's all you. Those 3 words are all you. So I've used them ever since. But what she said was interesting. She said she went to a conference like 8 years prior. It was an amazing conference, 3,000 people, 5 speakers. She goes, they were amazing, but I can't tell you who they all were except one. There was one gentleman on stage, and on the podium, he started using his hand, started doing some knocks. It was Morse code. He was a prisoner of war, and he communicated that way. And all she could think about when I think of those speakers is the POW, because it resonated. Now with me, what I do, I'm in a wheelchair for the first half of my presentation. When I get out of it, and it's just beyond the broken neck. I had pneumonia, pulmonary embolism, my heels rotted off, I had ulcers in my stomach, I lost 45 pounds, lost my hair because of stress. I can go on and on. Those complications could have taken me out. But when I get out of my wheelchair, when you hear my story, it's pretty profound. Usually the crowd stands up and there's tears and there's applause. And my question to them after that, which goes back on your piece a moment ago, what I say, when it gets quiet, everyone sits back down. How many of you are now ready to get off your own chair, so to speak, and stand up to the challenges you're experiencing today, as well as the opportunities, and take action in ways you never thought about taking action? And then I'll say, look, I'm not trying to provide false hope, but 6 months after being diagnosed a quadriplegic, I turned an impossible dream into reality by walking out of Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado with a pair of foam crutches and braces on my legs. And then it took me an additional 6 years of my life, another 2,190 days, and a tremendous amount of daily grit to be able to walk with the simple use of a cane. What I'm really trying to say is this: if you're looking to thrive, beat the odds, and achieve extraordinary results in your own lives, professionally as well, don't ever give up too soon on your own dreams, goals, hopes, aspirations. And I think me getting out of the wheelchair, making some of those statements, people hang on to it. And when you can get someone into an emotional state, it anchors into your subconscious mind, and that's can be pulled back up over and over down the road. That's why I consider myself not a motivational speaker, more inspirational, because I think if you can actually inspire someone, it can hit you in the chest like no other, and you don't forget pieces of it.
Yeah, I had the privilege of running the Boston Marathon a few times, and the first time I ran it, I was not prepared for the hills in Wesley. I got my butt kicked, and I was starting to doubt myself. And all of a sudden, a man caught up to me, pushing his son, who was a paraplegic.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And he ran past me.
Absolutely.
And I said, "Bob, shut the F up," and ran through it. But
don't you hate that?
Oh, it was awesome. I have goosebumps right now. I never forgot that. And I never ran a race without thinking.
Yep. And they used to speak. One of them passed away.
Oh.
One of them passed away. There's another tandem doing the same thing now.
God bless him.
Some guy's pushing his son. Not sure if the son's but they do the same thing. And that guy's a speaker. It's an amazing story. But that's the thing about it. It's like, so what inspired me to become a speaker? On the inspiration overcoming piece of it, I graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in finance. And a buddy of mine, upon graduation, goes, if you want to turn lemons into lemonade, why don't you become an advisor in the insurance and financial industry. And one thing you can specialize in is disability income insurance planning. And that's where my journey began with Northwestern Mutual Life in Tampa. 3 years later, we're at their national conference in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there's got to be 5,000, 6,000 agents. That's our big annual meeting. And there's this gentleman who comes out. Now, imagine a huge stage and you see this video introducing him. Charlie Plum is his name, right? So Charlie Plum was a Navy pilot shot down behind enemy lines, prisoner of war for 6 years, in the same camp as the late Senator John McCain. Okay? When they introduced Charlie, he's on a riser on a platform 5 feet by 7 feet. And he's dressed in black. And underneath the riser is all mic'd up. So he starts to walk. And you hear these walks, right? His footprints, or his foot making the sound. And he goes up and back, up and back. And he goes, if I continue this walk, how many more steps? That's my 3-mile walk in the morning. Back and forth, back and forth. And he said, if I can have influence in your life is to invite you into my cell where I spent 6 years. And he invites you into his life, going over there in the corner, visualize a toilet that's got the worst stench possible. That's my toilet right over there. But he invites you in. He talks about how I not only survive, but how the tools that I use to help me overcome this can help you in your personal professional lives. We sat there for 45 minutes. You could hear pins drop. And I sat there when everyone gave him a roaring standing ovation at the end. I sat there and said, man, I could see myself doing that for the rest of my life. So 5 years later, I qualified for the $1 Million Roundtable, which is a 100% commission-driven award in the insurance and financial industry. It's an award that less than 8% of my peers achieve yearly around the world, peers representing over 500 companies in 70 countries, right? When I came back from that conference, all fired up to take my production to the next level, I was involved in a second accident. An 80-year-old man ran the stop sign, catches me off guard, our cars collide. He was not hurt, I was, and I was buckled in. I had injuries that took me out of the business for 3 or 4 months, but I couldn't help but think about Charlie Plum. And it turns out after the second accident, I was so inspired by Charlie Plum, was on top of my game, I decided to apply vision, mindset, and grit into the idea of speaking. So I left the insurance and financial industry at the top of my game to pursue a speaking career that has over time taken me all over the world.
And I really love, Scott, that you said something really profound to me, that you consider yourself not a motivational speaker, but an inspirational speaker. And in my life, what I've seen is you can be the best motivational speaker in the world, and we can give young Seth all of the wisdom our 150 years have brought us,
Right.
But we can't motivate him to do it. No one can make, put the pen down in front of a kid. I do it all the time. I say, try to pick up that pen. And they immediately pick up the pen. I said, no, I didn't say pick it up. I said, try to pick it up. We can't make anyone do anything, but you can inspire. Like, you are an inspiration. There's no doubt about it. I'm ready to go pull a fire plug out of the ground right now. But that inspiration is what creates the change. Motivation doesn't last. We could have I bet we could do one hell of a show and do a weekend and have everybody come in and pay their money, and they're all going to leave Sunday night and they're going to feel great, and they're going to get up Monday morning to do the same thing they were doing before. But hearing your story and witnessing your story, witnessing you walking up those stairs and you sharing your story with me, holy shit, that's inspiration. That's something. That guy pushing his son in that race, I wasn't walking. I was finishing that race. And that guy to this day has lived with me.
Yeah.
And I'm crying again.
That's all right. That's all right. You bring a couple things to mind. I did an event at the Mississippi Healthcare Association 15 years ago, whatever it was. And then after I spoke, I was doing a book signing. And this nurse walks over. It was filled with nurses in the area and so forth. And she must have been early 60s, mid 60s. He walks over. Can I shake your hand? Because I talk about shaking my father's hand when I couldn't. I'll remind me about my dad and shaking hands. So she wanted to shake my hand. There's a reason for that, because it's something I do on stage. She wanted me to shake my hand. It has something to do with my dad. And but she goes, coming into this conference, I had already checked out. I was going to retire. I'm done. But after hearing you speak, I'm staying with it. I'm not giving up right now. And it was funny. I was just in the Dominican Republic a week and a half ago speaking to this group right here, Modern Woodman. It's a financial group. It was an incentive trip for their top producers and home office employees. So I was one of the speakers down there. And then afterwards, they put me for 2 nights on a beautiful resort in the DR, right? But I got to hang out and talk to different generations of people who were there. Older, seasoned advisors and younger ones. And so the last time I was there, I was talking to a lady who is in the home office. She's like, I really hope to God that your message hit the younger generation. People in their late 20s and 30s entering the insurance and financial industry. It's a tough industry to get into, to make it in. But when you make it, you can do really, really well. It's hard work. And I said, well, it's funny that you say that, but I pulled one of the guys over here. He must have been probably his mid-30s. And I go, why don't you tell her what you just said about me in my presentation? And he simply, so I'm 60. And apparently, everybody in that room was inspired, even on a professional level. And what this guy took away from my 1-hour keynote, he pulled out a page of notes. I did a keynote, not a breakout session, took out a keynote, phrases, one-liners, and so forth. But the people that were in his office, if you will, were inspired, but they wanted to do more because of what I have done, so to speak. And it's just really, really amazing to see how I'm able to hit different generations. And this is pretty funny, I thought. I did an event years ago in Orlando for Daiichi Sankyo. Daiichi Sankyo is it's a pharma company, a Japanese pharma company. So I spoke to the U.S. division, and the U.S. division has a U.S. The president of the company is not Japanese, he's American, I'm trying to say. So I get there, I have a conference call with them. They say, hey, how long is your keynote? Well, it's an hour. Oh, I go, well, what's wrong with that? Half of our audience, 250 people. He goes, they're in their 20s. You're not going to be able to reach them. They're going to have their cell phones, smartphones. And I said, okay, so how long do you want me to speak for? They go, 30 minutes. I said, I tell a story. It's my story as a backdrop. You're asking me to take a chunk out of it to make it work, but I will. But I convinced them to let me have 40 minutes instead. I had 4 standing ovations in 40 minutes. Not one person in that room reached for their cell phone. If it was, to take a picture. And when you go all in, you have passion to deliver a story in such a way, it can inspire. It just, I'm not looking for a pat on my back for standing ovations, but I'm like, the reaction that I get from audiences is insane. Even with today's, technology where people want to reach their cell phones, you can capture people for an hour if you're a good storyteller. If you can go there, have a good story, where there's laughter, there's humor, and there's the tears, and I bring all that to the equation. But it's taken a long time to perfect it and get good at it. But I love delivering it.
What did the president say afterwards?
He's on my website. I got a clip of him on my website. He was ramping and raving. I have a testimonial video on my website from him. Just a great guy. And let me go back at the handshake for a moment. A quadriplegic, if you guys look at my fingers, my hands right now, they look pretty arthritic looking. I can open them if I hike my wrist, but that's it. So they're all bent. When I started moving my right wrist, I could move my wrist up and down, but my fingers weren't working at all that time. But when I pushed my wrist down, it created a gap that wasn't there before. So I realized I saw my dad when he came back after the, you want to do an exercise, Harry?
Yeah.
Let's do an exercise. And for you listeners out there, do me a favor, hold your right arm out. Now relax your wrist completely. Now, when your wrist is in this position, do you notice there's a gap between your index finger and thumb? Yes or no? Curl your fingertips in about 1/4 of an inch. Now keep them really loose and bring your wrist into the upright position. Do you see how your fingers kind of fall on each other if you keep them really loose and you release them? They drive apart. Okay. You can relax your wrist. So the point is, when I force my wrist down, it would open these fingers that weren't open before in this position. And I realized when I saw my dad, when he came back after that 4 days of depression, I could actually reach out and shake my father's hand. And it's a pretty pivotal moment if you're the way I shared on stage. The last time my dad saw me speak was at the Marriott. It was some pharma conference. And no, you like this one. It was a software company sponsoring an event for salon owners. He goes, when you get here, they're going to have mohawks, they're going to have whatever, but they're all millionaires. They all own their own businesses, right? And so I'm on this stage with only 220 people, 3 IMAX screens behind me, white stage, and it's got a white thumb that goes out into the crowd, right? So I go out into the crowd. I'm having to do that exercise with the hands and fingers. And I started getting emotional, and someone said, hey, what's wrong? I said, well, I don't want to take away from this presentation, but someone happens to be here today. And it's my dad. And every single person in that room stood up. They wanted to see where he was. And afterwards to do a book signing, they didn't want my book. They wanted to shake his hand. That was the last time my dad saw me speak, and we have it on tape.
Wow.
1 year before he passed away.
Oh, all right, we're all crying.
Wow.
But that's the difference between motivation and inspiration.
Absolutely.
I've heard some great motivational speakers. I've had the opportunity to go in, and the difference is they're motivated by money.
Yeah.
And I can always, maybe that makes me a little cynical, but I can always feel that.
Yeah.
They've got something to sell.
Yeah.
You have something to give. That's the difference. And
paying it forward.
Yeah. It comes across, and it's funny, I do this little quote of the day. I've been doing it for 35 years. I started when my son was in high school, and he was having a hard time. And I started sending him a quote, and all of a sudden he says, my friends want to be on the quote. Then his coaches want to be on the quote, and then teachers. And it just grew. And I had, a very Forrest Gump life with a lot of different companies. And,
is this where he gets his stuff from?
Oh, you get the quote
so
of the
I'm
day.
on your, there we go.
All right, Scott.
There we go. The ripple effect, right?
So I have goosebumps because that was the quote the other morning, and I couldn't help but think of you. If you read that out loud, I would appreciate it.
It says, good morning. You're inspiring more lives than you realize. Someone is watching your journey and holding on to hope because of you.
And that's you. And you, unfortunately, now have burdened me with your memory. So anything that I'm doing that I feel like quitting, I'm going to think of you standing up or shaking your dad's hand, and you're going to keep me going. And that's what.
And I got a book here for you just to reinforce it, just in case.
We're torch bearers, and part of being a torch bearer, because you go out and you share so willingly about yourself, is you're lighting other people's torches. You definitely did for Harry and for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
you seem so happy and just like a candle, just lighting up the whole room.
But the problem is, when you are constantly lighting others' torches, your torch can burn down.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get together with other torch bearers like we are today, and we all drop our torch into that fire barrel in the middle, when we all leave here, we're all going to be burning brighter because of your light. And it's really, it's very, very inspirational. You are not a motivational speaker. You are an inspirational speaker.
So let me, I learned how to snow ski after I got hurt. A friend of mine, his name, he's passed, Brad Blessman. And what a blessing this guy was to me in my life. He wanted to teach me how to snow ski 7 years after being diagnosed with quadriplegic in Vail, Colorado. So when we get there, I see a sign in the distance, obviously written by a very creative attorney. And it said this: if you are crazy enough to attach a pair of wooden planks to the bottom of your feet, take this ski that's at the top to ski a frozen one, then you're waiving all your rights to a lawsuit and then you get injured. Now, I don't know about you, but that was not the confidence builder I was hoping for, right? But in many ways, I went with what scared me. And I got onto that ski lift with Blessman, and we ascended to the top. We literally, we go to the top of Vail, Colorado, on the front side of the mountain. There's a green run up there. But I was scared of the bejesus. I was just scared, but I was, he saw me speak at an event at Northwestern Mutual Life at a home office deal. It was only about 40 of us for 2-week training. And he goes, you ever snow ski before? I said, no. He goes, my parents got a place out in Vail. And I said, don't tease me because I'll show up. So 6 months later, I show up. So we get up there, and Brad, we bought a pair of forearm crutches. They're called Canadian crutches, but these forearm crutches have little skis on the bottom of them. And I got a regular set of snow skis. So I'm actually standing up. I'm not sitting on a sit-down ski. I'm standing up, forearm crutches, over 2 days at the top of the mountain, every 5-10 feet, down. My hips turned black and blue after 2 days. I was eating Advil, Tylenol. And at the second day, end of it, he goes, you know what you're doing wrong? I said, no. He goes, you're resisting what I'm trying to teach you. He's like, to learn how to snow ski, you got to be willing to lean forward, break the fall line, and let gravity help assist you down the mountain. And when I felt like I got that light bulb moment on the top of the world, I found myself snow skiing in full control. And I was even able to stop in the upright position, right? Now, 4 days later, on the 6th day of that ski excursion, he takes me to the backside of Vail. We're standing just under 12,000 feet overlooking this monster crater. It's called China Ball. It's steep, it's treacherous. On that day, you could see miles upon miles in every single direction, shade of blue I never saw before. And I turned to bless him. I said, thank you so much for being back here. I also said a prayer. I'm a Christian. I just said, thank God for sparing my life on November 3rd, 1984. But I turned to bless him. I said, hey, man, thanks again for taking me back here. Now I'm curious. Where is the ski lift to take me back down? And he said, there's not a ski lift up here to take you back down. One way down is down. So if I'm on a corporate setting, what I would say next, when you're standing on top of a mountain, it gives you a fantastic view to your next destination. But to get you there, to push them to what is possible, both your personal and professional lives, you got to be willing to lean forward, break the fall line, and let gravity help assist you down that mountain in your personal professional lives, even if it scares you. That mindset, that vision, and that grit helped me conquer China Bowl. It wasn't graceful by any means, but when we hit the bottom, Blessman said, I know you're happy. I can see it in your face, Scott, because the truth is, you fell down a lot. There's one time that you fell, you were gasping for air for minutes on end. He goes, you recall? I said, yep. Because I was hoping to God you would quit. You know why? Because I was just so tired of picking you up. All I wanted to do was ski down the mountain to get ski patrol up here to put you in a stretcher to take you down safely. Because you were unwilling to quit, I thought to myself, Blessman, how can I quit in front of you, Scott? And then on stage, I'll look at the audience and I'll say, who's that Blessman in your life? Stretching you just a little further to be the best parent, spouse, grandparent, the best at what you do on a professional level for your organization. And who are you willing to be a Blessman to? Whose life are you willing to change? Because isn't what life is all about? Making a difference in the lives of others. So who is that Blessman in your lives?
And China Bowl is a steep run. It's a steep run. I mean, you lean back and you just put your boards out. You.
Oh yeah.
It's steep.
It's steep and it's fun. And the groom stuff, believe it or not, today I can go 35, 40 miles an hour, hit the brakes. I was skiing in Italy, the Southern Dolomites one year. And these 3 Italians were like, oh, you cheating. I'm like, take my outriggers away, man. I go up and fish out of water. But the outriggers are absolutely amazing. But for me, snow skiing brought back running again. So when I talk about my speech, as I lead into it, I take them on a journey, and I'll say something like this, because this may connect the snow skiing. I'll say my life changed in mere seconds, just a few months after I celebrated that last kickboxing victory on those gorgeous white sand beaches along the Gulf of Mexico, a place known as St. George's Island. After a buddy of mine challenged me to a foot race. I go, now being competitive like all of you here today, I vividly remember taking off my tennis shoes, bending down on my running stance, waiting to hear the word go. Imagine right now hearing that word echoing throughout the air. And the first thing you can feel is that cool night air blowing through your hair. And with each step, you can feel sand gritting between your toes. And as you lean in across that imaginary finish line, you can even taste salt in the ocean air. Standing there victoriously on that beach, what I can never imagine, my wildest dreams, is how that run would definitely be my last. So that's what I would say in the beginning of my speech. At the very end, I cap it off with snow skiing. And I talk about how I found a whole new passion in my life, a passion that I thought I lost the night before the accident, what it was like to run again. So snow skiing brought that sensation back. And I'm 60, I can still ski, but the adrenaline I get, like I'm 28 years old again. And it's pretty amazing. But I try to bring people into my speech, share it in the you language, not make it about me, but tell my story in the you language. Is very, very difficult to do for a lot of speakers. They tell their story, but which is good, but it's how you tell your story. I had coaches that helped me earlier to bring someone in that way. So that's why I told that piece of it that way.
No, it's very inclusive. Very inclusive. It's incredible. It really. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Hey, you made two guys that never shut up. That's inspirational.
But you think about that, like that. Did you ever think something like snow skiing could change you like that, to get the feel of running? I'm just no, but I'm just saying it's a pretty big difference, running and skiing, but it gives you the same feeling, is what I'm saying.
Correct. I'm independent. I'm on my own. I can go from point A to point B. I can stop. I can go fast. I can go slow. I can turn. And I can do moguls.
Yeah. All right. I can't.
But it does.
I fall.
But being that I can't run and the sensation I get, but I never learned how to snow ski. And had I never met Blessman, living in Florida, having a place out in Vail where his parents did, I don't know if I would have ever, because I didn't know anything about it. He didn't know it. He knew about skiing, but he used to teach, not professionally, but taught me how to ski. And he figured out he could find a way. And, but I did.
I just like his last name.
Blessman.
Blessman, because that's what he did. He was blessing men.
Yeah.
I love sharing that story. It's like, it's weird because now I'm carrying his legacy forward. Blessman passed away a number of years ago. My dad passed away. I told my dad before he died, as long as I continue to share my story on stage and you're saying, let it happen, I can carry your legacy forward. So it's nice that I can share that. But the impact, if you heard my story live on stage about my dad and how instrumental he was. I love my mom, brother, sister. They were all there. He did some pretty magnificent things, like showing up when money was an issue. I mean, just to drop everything. He was a golf course superintendent in Jupiter, Florida here. His insurance, thank God I had group insurance, paid for all this. If I didn't have that, being in college, I would have gone to a nursing home and died a slow death. That's where I got lucky with the insurance. But it didn't cover everything. He had Dr. Stringer, my neurosurgeon, wrote the script to have me transferred from Florida to Denver in an air ambulance. The insurance company said, no, not going to pay for it. My dad had to raise money, $5,000. Doesn't sound like a whole lot until we inflate it from 1983 and attach medical inflation to it. That would have cost you and your family $75,000 tomorrow to fly you or one of you to make that same flight. And, he liquidated my college fund and his savings and tapped into his retirement, thinking, and he wouldn't need to do that, but his health insurance didn't cover everything. And I'm beyond blessed for that.
What was your dad's name?
Tom.
We're bringing Tom in.
Tommy boy.
Yeah.
Chop.
Well, it's when you share, you can see your love.
Yeah. When he was diagnosed with cancer for a year, he fought it. He did not want to. I got grit from him, but he did not want to give in, and he did not want to go at 76 years old. But he fought, and I was speaking. And when I got to him, it was like I was mourning his death 50, 60, 70 times on stage in front of people. But to see him speak, hear me speak that last time, and someone shaking his hand. I've had people come up. I did an event for John Hancock up in New York, and afterwards, this guy walks up, a little heavy set, but he was just a go-getter. He's looking at me, and he starts to tear up. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I was doing fine until your dad in the handshake. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, last time I saw my dad was on the golf course. I shook his hand goodbye, and 2 days later, he died of a heart attack. So I'm there to challenge you professionally, but it just seems like these stories in between are get you going. But I'm going to make you laugh right now. So I play golf, right? So I was on stage prior to the global pandemic, and I walk with a golf club because my dad brought a golf club in to inspire me when I was first paralyzed, something to shoot for, even though I couldn't use my arms. So I'm on stage now. I tell a golf story where prior to our global pandemic, I was talking to the largest property and casualty insurance companies in North America, and they had a huge flat screen TV right behind me. When I took my swing, I hit it, and I broke the TV, and I didn't know what to say. So I said, "Thank God that TV is insured by your company." And see, I got you laughing, right? So in your keynotes, you want to get them laughing, you want to get them emotional, because the more you can get someone emotional and laughing during whatever you want to share through storytelling, it anchors in the subconscious. It gets anchored in, because that emotional, that's what I've learned through studies and people of that nature. So a nice balance of humor and everything else can really...
Well, here's to Tom.
Tommy boy.
And Tom, my dad passed in December. You guys maybe can grab a beer together.
Perfect.
Seth, didn't you have a question? I thought you had a question over there.
No, I was going to mention earlier, the movie that you were talking about, the Tom Cruise movie, is called Born on the 4th of July.
There we go. Yep. Born on the 4th of July. Great movie and great research. He played that role really, really well. Another documentary you want to watch is that after I got hurt, was with my arms, I started competing again, only this time in a completely different sport. They call it full contact wheelchair rugby, AKA murder ball. All right. Full contact wheelchair rugby. Today it's a Paralympic sport. I know. So a documentary was done called Murder Ball. Google it, check it out. I know 4 of the guys of the 6 that were in that documentary, and they lost out to the Penguins documentary back in the day. But it talks about new injured patients and veterans. In the new injured patients, because Harry, you wanted some questions when I was first hurt, and one of the guys in Murder Ball was just hurt. They go back home, and his parents had rearranged their home. They opened the doors up, right? There's ramps and whatever it was, and he goes in the garage. He got hurt in a motorcycle accident, like a dirt bike. And they go in the garage, and there's a bike sitting there, and they show him. And like, what do you think? He's like, man, this sucks. And so when you first get hurt and your life changes, I can't say I slipped into a major, major depression, except that one moment that I told you about earlier. But when your life changes and everything's in front of you, you're not going to play football anymore. Well, actually, I was on my back going, hey, doc, when I walk again and I want to kickbox, will my neck be okay? Because I had a spinal fusion done. I mean, can I, whatever. I was still thinking I'm still going to compete. But it does suck in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. When your life changed at 19, for an athlete at least, I did, a lot of that stuff. But it's hard. But you've got to find a way out of it. And you've got to find a way to keep fighting and look for something new. What are you fighting for? Like on stage, when I talk about vision, because I show a kickboxing fight, my last one on ESPN before I go on stage, use it as a metaphor in terms of what are you fighting for? What's your vision? What are you fighting for today in your personal, professional lives? And you got to find out what you're fighting for. What's next, right? And if you're a quad, it's like, what's next? Well, there's always next. It may not be what you truly wanted initially in a different body, but there's always next. You can always do something. But you've got to want it. No one can make it happen. And that's the grit. You've got to have the drive. And if you ever, whatever your challenges may be, personally, professionally, I don't care what they are, but we're all dealing with and coping with challenges, but you've got to have a profound belief that you can navigate through them, that you'll learn from them. If you're looking to be inspired, go online, find snippets of speakers, go on a podcast. Someone's recommending a book, grab a book, wherever you can get the inspiration to keep you going, to figure out what you want to fight for. I think it's really, really important. You got to start somewhere. Whether it ends.
The best way to start is with Vision, Mindset, and Grit.
Yeah.
By Scott Burrows.
There we go.
You can get it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Live it, baby. Live it.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Who are you inspired by
When? What part of my life?
right now?
Oh, my dad still. Charlie Plum, because I still talk about Charlie Plum on stage, because he inspired me to get where I'm at. Harry fighting for the last 4 or 5 years is an inspiration to me. He's still here standing. You've gone through all kinds of stuff, business-wise, ups and downs. You got the COVID. My buddy Brendan McCarthy up the street here in Jupiter. They're inspiring me because they're still standing. and they didn't throw in the towel. They didn't give up. And I think that's, so it doesn't have to be a grand thing, but people that didn't really, I'm okay to give up and quit once you've exhausted everything. When you throw the sink at it and you're like, I gave it my all, but it's just, I can say, okay, I can tap out and be okay with that.
But if you can keep fighting, keep fighting.
Yeah. Make adjustments, continue to fight, continue to adapt, embrace change, look at change as an opportunity to evolve, welcome fresh ideas, discover different approaches, and execute innovative solutions with your unwavering grit and determination.
Good stuff, man.
How many times do you hear your dad's voice or words of wisdom? Because we all do, and sometimes it's, I notice as the years go by, it gets less and less, because my father passed away 37 years ago. So it's a long time, but you still hear things he said to you,
When I'm on stage.
Yeah.
When I'm on stage or prepping.
Yep.
When I'm on stage, I go there. I tear up emotionally. Like you guys are. I will go there. I'm an emotional speaker, and you see it. People feel it apparently. And when it comes to Dad, that connection in the room, it hits people.
Yeah.
But that's where
But that's what I'm saying. You never you get that closeness still.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying with when you speak, you still feel like he's right there.
And when I go to McCarthy's, I see his picture on the wall, sitting in front of Turtle Creek Country Club, and he's got his golf club, his 7-iron that he grew up with on the wall there. I look at it every single time.
Yeah.
And I just smile, say I love you, and I'm still keeping your legacy forward at 60.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're out there and you have a story, we want to hear it. We want you to come in and, I mean, we don't want to fit into Scott's shoes because he's a storyteller. He makes me embarrassed to be a storyteller. But you live through it and you learn to live with it. Come share your story with us. Or if you know somebody, let us know. And the world is suffering for it. Let's put the kind back in mankind.
I like that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Really a pleasure. Thank all three of you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hello, we're recorded from Harry and the Natives restaurant in Hope Sound, Florida. It's a family restaurant. My family's run it 73 years. It's an 85-year-old restaurant, and just come and see us sometimes. Thank you. This is Bob.
And we're upstairs in the Tiki Hut, so you can come in, and we'd love to have you come up and tell your story. I'm with O'Donnell Impact Windows and Storm Protection, and we do, I know it sounds confusing, but we do impact windows and storm protection. And our slogan is, and please remember at O'Donnell, it's our family protecting your family. So I promise you, if you use us, we'll never embarrass you. If you refer us, we'll never embarrass you. We get the job done right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.